Bo Markovic, welcome to the Pre-Construction Podcast.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it very much, Gareth. This is absolute honor to be over here, especially since I have seen a fair few of these. So, I'm gonna try my best to stand up to the standard.
Good. We love fresh meat on this podcast. Trust me.
I'm it.
Well, listen, after the success that we've heard from Clint Kimball, who obviously is on the Flinco side of the partnership in Alberici, we now have got yourself on. For anybody who doesn't know, Bo, Director of Estimating at Alberici, heavy civil, we're going to dig into a lot throughout the podcast. But I want to get a quick background check. Bo, tell us a little bit about your background, how you ended up with Alberici, and then more importantly, people will understand with the accent how you ended up in America.
Right. So, I guess we can start from there, midlife. I was a tennis player. I played tennis all my life. Yugoslavia, war, 1990s. My parents were very brave and they sent me out of the country and they were like, okay, let's see where we can take this. So I went down to Miami on 2 occasions and I played some good tournaments. There was a coach there from Louisiana, Monroe, that gave me a chance, gave me a full ride. And I went to Louisiana, Monroe. I played over there for 4 years. I ended up coaching actually a whole year as a head coach for the women's tennis team. And while I was up there, I earned a degree in construction management. I also got a master's degree in business right after that. So right after school, got into construction, came down here in New Orleans, worked for B&K Construction. Shout out to my B&K people. And, stayed with them for 18 years. And we did some absolute amazing work with some unbelievable men and women. And we did a ton of work after Katrina to rebuild the, Southeast Louisiana flood protection system. So that's where pretty much most all of my experience comes from, is from Corps of Engineers heavy civil work. And then had this absolutely amazing opportunity to get on board with Alberici, being the family man that I am with, 3 kids and so on and so forth, able to work remote and run construction bidding teams throughout the country, global maybe, and so on and so forth, was just absolute interest, huge interest. Got on board with them as a director of estimating, and now I'm, just rolling with them, doing heavy civil work and some really challenging work and some stuff that, you'll probably see on Discovery Channel one day, So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. I love it. But that's, in a nutshell, that's me.
What a story, Bo. And I'm going to bring you back. So as an sporting professional myself, when you went to Miami to play in those tournaments, was that like trials to try and get a scholarship, or was that just a tournament?
It's a long story, so and we don't have all that time, but pretty much I played some outstanding tournaments, Eddie Hare and Miami Shores and Orange Bowl, and those Orange Bowl being the pinnacle of junior world championships, I did okay. I didn't do extremely good because their competition is just unbelievable, but I did okay. I did okay enough to where, coaches from around the country come and they watch kids play and they recruit there. So I did well enough to, gather interest and so on and so forth for, one of the coaches to give me a full ride. So that's what I did when I was down there.
Brilliant. I love it. I mean, anybody knows the podcast, knows me. To me, 2 loves is sports and construction. And when you marry the 2, I think magical things happen. So that's wonderful. You went, got your degree, which is amazing, and then started into your construction. When you were doing your degree, construction management degree, was it always the heavy civil side of construction, or how did that come about?
To be quite honest, in construction management just gives you a very good understanding of the entire spectrum of what you might want to do as you graduate. I view school as kind of just a base for life. Honestly, it's nothing really specialized that it's going to this is what you do and this is what you're going to be doing. I mean, I know so many guys that went to electrotechnical school and became lawyers. Like it just gives you a very good strong base that you can build off of. So my construction management, I've always been very interested in my estimating classes, and shout out to all of my teachers in Monroe who have always been hands-on. So, I mean, if we had construction going on around the campus, we were keeping a journal. If there was a building being built and they were, running electrical and we were in electrical class, we were in the building with the electricians and we were keeping journals. We were looking at things. Those were our labs, things of that nature. All of our teachers were actually guys that have done it. They had done it in the past, and they knew that was really important for us. So I'm very close to the youth at some of the universities around here, and that's what I try to do with them as well.
Yeah, it's the best way to learn, Bo. You know yourself. I mean, the best colleges, the best universities, the best degrees are all done by people that are either working half and half or have worked in the industry as well. And it's amazing that you say as well that the estimating modules or semesters were the ones that interested you, because that's not always the case. Most of the degrees are very small in the estimating and pre-con side, and essentially that's we need more of that. So that's good. So talk to me then, B&K. Talk to me about them as a company and how you were able to develop, mature within that company, and then because they're very specialized, give us an insight into what they specialize in.
Man, love those guys. Shout out to Blake and the entire crew. At B&K, love the women that I worked with, and so on and so forth. Blake and Boone are, the owners of B&K. They have given me a chance in construction, really, and had taken me under their wing. Showed me pretty much everything that I know today. What was the most amazing thing to me was that I was hired on as a junior estimator to help bid, and after about 3 or 4 bids, we had come up against this massive spillway project outside of Baton Rouge, and the owner came to me and he's like, "Bo, we have a very complicated concrete structure, and I need you to take it off." And I thought it was kind of a joke. I'm like, "Complicated concrete structure, what are you talking about?" So then he threw 400 pages, or it wasn't 400 pages, but it was a ton of pages worth of drawings in front of me. And I was like, "Oh my God, how in the heck am I going to do this?" So this is like before any sort of technology. So you just, sit down and you just take it off one piece at a time. And we did well. On the bid, we got it, and everybody was very satisfied with that. And the owner came to me and he's like, "Okay, now what you're going to do is you're going to be out in the field for 5 years with each of my superintendents." You can't ask anything better. Okay, so I went in the field and I did everything, from driving stakes in the ground to tying steel with the rebar guys to so on and so forth. Then we got into Corps of Engineers work, and the quality control position was one of the positions that actually taught me construction, because you have to know the size of the crews, you have to know the productions, you have to know the equipment, you have to know how things are built, what things are built out of, you have to keep schedule, you have to do all of these kind of things that manage the job and make it move. You have to deal with subcontractors. You have to deal with, meetings with the owner, meetings with pretty much everybody under the sun in the core world. So, submittals, so on and so forth. So once you understand now as to how things are built and which way you go in order to manage a job and how to start it and how to bring it to completion and where you have to push and where you have to slack and what the weather does to the job and so on and so forth, then it was much easier for me to get back in the office and start being cyclical, meaning we're going to bid on work, we're going to get filled up, we're going to get out in the field, and we're going to knock some stuff out. So, I'm very thankful to all of those guys and that I worked with over the 18 years of my career, because they have taught me a lot.
What a start to your construction professional. I mean, that's amazing to be able to estimate, run through pre-construction, value engineering, and then go out and deliver the project as well. What was the value of that project, out of curiosity?
Oh, back in 2004, that was like a $30 million job.
Wow, massive.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Now you can't get that job under 50. It's just what it is. It
would probably be 4 times what it was back then.
Yeah. It's just what it is, man. I mean, it's just where the economy is and where we are. Try and go buy a car.
And then what did you learn most about that? Obviously, being able to hard bid that project and take off each piece at a time without really knowing how it went together. So obviously, how did you learn that? Did you speak to the operations team? Did you speak to the subcontractors? How did you go about doing that in your head if you've never built anything on site before?
So we self-performed as B&K. We self-performed like 90% of the work. An enormous amount of experience is gathered in, the crew, superintendents, the owners, all of them. The most important thing that I suggest to anybody that is getting in as a newbie is to ask questions. Absolutely ask everything. There's no such a thing, and this is I don't know if it's dumb to say this or not, but everybody says, but there's really no dumb question. I always want, everybody to come and ask me a question and just not be silent, because we can't miss, or we try not to miss. We know that we might, but we try to buffer against that miss. And if we can buffer against that miss through communication and constant, questions, we'll find the answer. Somebody's going to know, and that's one of the things, with B&K and also with Alberici. Alberici has an enormous knowledge pool of people, like I was involved in a large electrical package, something that's not up my alley, but we were able to pull in all the electrical experts and so on and so forth, sit down with them, break down the job, look at all of the aspects of it. And then when you break it down atom by atom, those things start coming together. So ask questions. That is the most important thing.
I hear you. You're 100% right. And it's something that we get on this podcast all the time. But I'm thinking as well, Bo, you must have shown a lot of promise for Blake and the owners at B&K to be able to turn around to you and give you that project, how complex it was. I mean, and obviously it would have helped the fact that you 90% self-performed it. But still, I mean, it's almost getting thrown into the deep end without any float or any assistance, really. I mean, was it a test, do you think?
Well, you do know the term baptism by fire. So we're all going to be baptized by fire at a certain point in time. And we need to understand that in order to become, you're not an expert immediately. Everybody wants to be an expert immediately. You got to be a fool in order to be an expert, you know what I mean? So you got to be able to go through the process. So we will test people. We'll see whether they're able to go through the process in order to gain knowledge, because without the work, there's really no possibility of growth. So yes, you have to go through those kind of steps, as you mature in anything that you do, not only in construction, in anything that you do. When I was playing tennis, my coach would always tell me, okay, this is your line. Are you always going to go up to that line, or you're going to push past that line so that you can actually start improving. So, and then when that clicked in my mind, I was like, I got to push the line and I got to keep pushing the line. And that's what I do in construction as well. That's your parallel with sports, right there. You just got to push the line, keep pushing it forward. And that's how you improve.
And I love it. Two things stand out to me there. You're asking questions, but also you weren't fearful when you were given the project. You didn't panic. You remain composed and you go, you know what, I'm going to grab this and push the line to make sure it's delivered properly. And I love the fact that the parallel from sports as well. Let's talk about B&K as well. What Levee Construction was their forte, basically. So that's what they specialised in for the Engineers Corp. Tell me a little bit about that. Anybody that's never, ever done anything to do with Levee Construction, obviously we know it's flood protection. I would imagine that the devastation of Katrina, there was a lot of work down there. How do you go about estimating or running through pre-construction on a Levee construction project?
So, with B&K is a full cycle heavy civil contractor from, laying large diameter pipe to, moving large amounts of dirt and, heavy structural concrete, deep excavation, driving piles, so on and so forth. And, the company just kind of moved with where the market was or where these packages were. At first, we were doing a lot of canal work and, driving sheets and doing a lot of structural concrete and some really beautiful large diameter, 84-inch, 72-inch pipe, water lines, sewer lines, so on and so forth. And then the market moved towards, okay, let's, build these levees and things of that nature. Some packages came out and we became competitive. How do you go about a levee job? I think that a levee job is probably like one of the most challenging, projects in the heavy civil work, given that it is so weather dependent. I mean, dirt is dirt, and dirt turns into mud extremely quickly to where you cannot do anything. Okay, you can be, and then levees are also where next to rivers, next to lakes, right, ponds, so on and so forth. Mississippi River, right, the daddy of all waters, wants to go up. Guess what? You're shut down. You're shut down for a very long time if you have a lot of shed coming from the north. So 2019, for instance, we were completely shut down for like the entire year. We were not able to move any dirt. So how do you buffer against that? You're estimating job in 2018 and you're like, okay, in 2019 I'm gonna be full blown, I'm gonna be hauling however many yards or tons of dirt and so on and so forth. I'm gonna be developing a pit, everything running, and so you dedicate all of this equipment and all this manpower and so on and so forth, and then you're stuck and you're like, okay, when is this thing going to go down? It felt like never. So it's all dirt and dirt management, and you have to have a lot of experience and you have to have a lot of backup and backup understanding from the entire industry in order to be able to put something together like this, right? Hauling, trucking, processing, keeping the moisture level correct, and so on and so forth. Buffer against any sort of erosion control in between lifts and things of that nature. Everything, all of that comes into play, and you just really need to like sit down, break it down, one lift at a time, and put your cost in and trust in yourself and your men. And that's all there is to it.
Love it. And obviously Alberici saw that talent in you and offered you the director of estimating position. Give us an overview now of what you're doing at Alberici, because it's not just Levee Construction, it's across the whole heavy civil space. How's that been? What kind of learning curve has that been? Did you take the same approach when you were thrown into that project back in 97, 98?
It was in 2004. The job with B&K, but you know, don't change the tactic that works for you. And so that's exactly what I did. Is and the one thing that I have realized, and this is a message for pretty much everybody, is just be yourself, man. Like, just be yourself. Do what you do, and you can do it, and just keep moving on. There's nothing here to be scared of or anything. Everything can be broken down in steps. Everything can be broken down in steps. And as long as you can take the 1 foot forward, 1 foot forward, 1 foot forward, you're doing better than yesterday. And that's all that and you take the approach into estimating. You take that approach into your work, man. Like, so when you get thrown into something, you just take it and you just start breaking it down. It might be overwhelming there for like the first, half a day, 15 minutes. I don't know. Everybody's different. And it was for me as well. And then you just go one step at a time. And like I said, I was able to pull in. Alberici is a fantastic company. I mean, it's just, I align really well with their way of thinking, their morals, their values, what they do, how they operate. I align really well with my boss, my co-workers, my team, all of that stuff. I don't feel like I'm above or below. I feel that I'm part of, and I think that's the most important thing. So yeah, so whenever anything comes up against me, it's one step at a time, man. And you just keep moving along, So
I love it.
That's what it is.
And that's what people don't see as well. I mean, we talk about sports and we've comparing sports and construction. At the end of the day, sports is a tough game. I mean, Bo's he's quite humble. We were talking offline. He would probably have competed with someone of maybe 500 in the world. So that's how good he was at tennis. But when you take that resilience and that grit, because at the end of the day, everybody looks at sports stars, sports people, even if they're number one in the world, number 500 in the world, and they only see the good stuff. They don't see the pain. They don't see the small improvements every day. They don't see that line getting closer and being pushed and pushed and pushed. Within estimating and pre-construction, how important is it, and I want to focus this on productivity of both yourself and your estimating team. How do you drive productivity, Bo, within a pretty large estimating team?
Okay, so I'm just going to use one term, and the term is time blocking. And it's all about time management because, in the estimating world, we know that we get only a certain amount of time that we have in order to turn our proposals in, and excuse me, and if you're looking at a job, no matter how small or how big it is, the time that it takes to put together an estimate versus the time that it takes to build it is exponentially smaller, right? So you have to understand the project and how it's going to get built from the get-go. So driving productivity in an estimating part of the world, to me, just boils down to understanding the blocks of time that you're going to devote to a certain activity and just move on. You have to move on, because if you don't, you're going to not turn it in on time, and you are more likely to miss if you don't move on than if you do.
But that takes a lot of discipline, Bo. That takes a serious amount of discipline, especially in your world, which is hard bid, to be able to turn around. That must, especially early on in a project, when you see a tender, being able to say yes or no, do we take this on? Can we actually, or have we got the time to put a good estimate together and put Alberici the best foot forward?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yes and no type of situations, and sometimes it's really hard to say no to a customer, to a client that you have done a lot of work for, and they're calling you in, and they're like, okay, I expect you to give us a bid, and you are tied up so bad on other projects and other bids, and you might not have, the people that you need to devote in order to, put together a good bid and so on and so forth. And then you have to have those hard conversations, within your team and with the client. And just make sure that they do understand where you're coming from, or that your team does understand that, okay, we're gonna have to do something over here to make this happen. So yeah, those are really tough decisions there. Go no go decisions are really tough. And sometimes things that come over your desk are just not going to be a cup of tea, and you're just going to pass on them. But it's much harder to say no to something that you're excited about, because I get excited about a lot of jobs, that come across, and I'm like, man, I want this, I want to get in it, I want to bid it, we want to get it, I can see us building this and all that stuff, and then you look around and it's like, wait, there's nobody here that can do this today.
And that is the hard part. But I'm telling you, and I've interviewed enough directors, VPs now of pre-construction. The people that are really good at saying no are the most successful people, no question. Yeah. They are the best at it. And that kind of comes back to another question on productivity. When you think about maximizing people, technology, time, what in your role right now as director of estimating, what are the big challenges that you're seeing in your industry?
I'm gonna say, I don't know if this is an unconventional thing to say, but I think that there's an overload of information and technology. There's just so much stuff that you can use. You get bombed daily with, new CRM systems and new this and new that. How can you, at a certain point in time, you got to pick one of them, and you just got to become good at it. Because it's like, okay, are they that much different? And then you got to be in always, okay, so now we got to explain to you as to how we're better, how we're not, how we can. It's like, to me, you know the work, and there are so many things that are helpers now to doing that work better, that sometimes we just get bogged down into all of those outside aspects, and we don't forget, but we just lose track of the end product, that the how to build the job, right? So we got to be cautious with how we use the technology to help us estimate, make these jobs better, and so on and so forth. Because you have in this world today, you have machines that are self-operated, and you can sit in your truck over there and operate a dozer, and you can build your levee, and same thing with a excavator and things of that nature, right? So, and if you haven't seen that, I suggest just looking through it, and so on and so forth, because it's there. So you gotta grow with the technology, but also you have to be cautious with the amount that you use, and just don't lose this. Just keep it to you. Keep your focus on what the end product is here.
Yeah, I think we're a little bit not over reliant, but we expect too much from the technology. We think that it's going to do a lot of it for us, but at the end of the day, it just allows us to do a little bit more. It helps us that way. What's your tech stack like right now? What are you guys using on a day basis? Is there anything that you're excited about?
And I want to say one thing as well is the younger guys, that are in there and that have, more experience to it, and that are more exposed to it and all that stuff. They're just amazing at it, and they just do so well. AgTech is one of the pieces of technologies that Alberici uses to map the geography of a place that we're about to change, and so on and so forth, and gives you moving of the dirt and quantities and things of that nature, fantastic. Innate is another program that we use for estimating and so on and so forth. And that program is fantastic as well. That it does really, really well for us. It's, it has all of those aspects that you would want to have in an estimating system, so on and so forth. But more so, the technology in the field with all the GPS and so and the things that are available, LiDAR and so on and so forth that are available to the industry to use to make this easier on us. It's fantastic. We just need to understand, like you had said, don't over rely on it, because you are still in charge of it and you still need to maneuver it to your own benefit.
Yeah, and if you can marry the best technology with the best talent and the people that have been out on the ground that have built these things and understand the problems and can foresee the problems, then you're on to a winner. One thing I wanted to ask you as well, we're seeing post COVID a lot of people working hybrid, working remotely. Tell me about your experience. Obviously, Alberici are 100% remote. What's it like, especially at your level? Working remotely, trying to manage a team, and is it working well?
I'm gonna tell you my approach. This does not have to be anybody else's approach to working remotely. I am fully remote for Alberici, but Alberici obviously has a massive office in St. Louis with a ton of people in there, and people go to work, all that kind of stuff, so on and so forth. But we do have remote workers throughout the country. My approach to remote work was something of a switch. So when that switch clicked in my mind, it went something like this: pretend like nothing has changed. Pretend like you are in the office, pretend like you are going in the office. And when you get into the office, even though it's, the front of my house, pretend like you are there. Like that is the world that you're in. That doesn't mean that what's it called, now that you're at home, and go do a laundry basket of clothes, whatever, you go cook something or whatever. No, you gotta have that switch, or I had that switch in my mind. I'm at work. I will not do anything at my house that I wouldn't otherwise be doing if I was in the office. So when my wife gives me a call and she says, "Oh, can you?" No, I said, my kid gives me a call. Can you? No, hold on. So I pulled them all together one night and I told them, I said, before you call me, I know that I'm at the house, but before you call me and you ask me anything, this is what you need to ask yourself. Would you be calling me and asking me this if I was in the office? And the quick answer was no. And they stopped. And when they stopped, I was like, okay, now I can just focus on what I'm doing. So, you get up in the morning and you do your routine. I don't know what your routine is, but you take a shower, you brush your teeth, all that stuff. I get dressed just like I'm going, in the field or in the office and all of that stuff. And I get into my office in the front of the house and clear mechanism. I'm ready to roll. So there's that, try to minimize all the distractions, cleaning the gutters and I don't know what else. But yeah, I think that has made a huge switch for me. And then obviously, it is not only needed, but it's also a requirement from Alberici for us, not only estimators, but remote workers and so on and so forth, to go and visit projects that are currently, running and all of that kind of stuff. And I'm fortunate enough to have, some of the jobs around here as well that Alberici is doing, that I can go and do that. We have a job up in Michigan that it's a massive job that I have scheduled here for April to go see. And obviously I travel a good bit for all of these meetings when we have to have them, head to head with the teams, and we're running these bids and large bids, and sometimes I'm going for 3-4 days, just working and knocking stuff out at the office in St. Louis or somewhere else. So it's been working out really, really well for me.
Good. I'm glad to hear it, because it's not always easy. A lot of people struggle with it, but it's pretty clear that you've got the discipline. And again, I think that comes back to the sports. I think that you just understand what's required, and how to keep pushing that line. One other question I want to ask you, and final one. Obviously, 2024, we're fairly into it quite heavy now. What's it look like on the heavy civil side? What are you most excited about? Where are the opportunities for Alberici? Because I know there's lots of options out there. There's a lot of work being done: water, wastewater, marine work, heavy earthwork. What are you most excited about?
Man, there's really a ton of work. There really is a ton of work, and I'm not sure whether that's it's obviously good for the industry, but for work to happen, something I don't want to say bad, but something's got to happen. So like if you look at California and all the mudslides and so on and so forth that have happened, so many people, right? And my heart goes out to all of them, all their families, friends, and so on and so forth. But that will always precipitate a ton of work. So you will always have, just like us in Southeast Louisiana, with all of the natural disasters and so on and so forth. So that's the kind of stuff that you're looking at in the next 4 to 5 years. There, some nice size projects on that front that are very exciting for Alberici. And there's Department of Energy is always there with all of their work with reservoirs and spillways and things of that nature that we have been pursuing. So that's a fantastic thing. There's a lot of private work that Alberici is involved with different entities, FedEx, one of them, so on and so forth. But yeah, that list is fortunately very, very long for Alberici, and we have the teams that can handle the amount of work that is coming down the pipeline in between Alberici and all of our partners in business. It is a fantastic world in heavy civil. Yep.
Right. Yeah, and we touched on it earlier as well. Your first $30 million project. It's amazing, Bo, how much more expensive these projects are getting. Do you see that continuing? Do you see it leveling out? And what's the biggest effect of the higher costs?
It's all of it. It just really is. Like we live different now than what we used to live. The needs of your people are different than what they used to be. Everything around you has increased in cost. I don't know if it's increased in value, but it is definitely increased in cost, right? So if you go from cost of living, that immediately translates into the projects that we bid. So from the base perspective, that's where you start, and then I can throw all kind of terms out there. You want to talk about supply management, you want to talk about all kind of different things, right? It's like one of my bids. Okay, tell me what rock quarry you want to use, and tell me if the rock is readily available. Is it? There's so much demand, like for things. And I'm not talking about quantity that is demanded. I'm talking about demand, right? That moves the curve, the entire curve, not just along the curve. So it's all of it. You got to kind of look at the global impact that, not only COVID, but just living. We live different. We definitely live different, and living different is sometimes, in this case, more expensive. So jobs are getting more expensive. Is it going to be, cheaper? Have you ever seen anything go cheaper? I haven't. That's the ice cream guy says that. Have you ever seen ice cream go cheaper? No.
It's only going to go one way, and I think it's going to continue through 2024.
Yeah.
But how much more expensive it can get is, I mean, if we had a crystal ball, we'd be millionaires. Yeah, it's tough,
You,
and it's tough, and I would imagine most of your day is taken up by and not convincing, but explaining to clients why the cost needs to go up or the budget they're giving you is not enough.
as you know, we're fortunate enough to where in some of these, or in a good bit of these pursuits that we have that presentation as part of our pursuit, where okay, we submit a price, and then they'll if we're fortunate enough, they'll call us in to explain to them as to how we plan on doing the job, and to explain to them our bid and our proposal. So we are very fortunate to be able to convey that, and to sell ourselves, if you will, to the to the client, and tell them as to why our team and our approach is going to get them what they need at the end, right? Because everybody's looking for that end result. So is our approach going to be the best approach for you? That's all that we're looking for. Is this going to be the best approach for you? I'm not looking to beat the competition. I'm just looking to give you what you need. So we're just fortunate enough to have that conversation at the end of the proposal.
Wonderful. Oh, this has been amazing. This, I promise, is the last question. I'm always
Okay.
interested in people that do an MBA, right? The MBA focused on construction management. We get people all the time ringing us up and going, Gareth, what would you recommend? What certification would you recommend? What qualification would you recommend? Would you recommend people at every levels doing an MBA with a focus on construction management?
So my MBA is just an MBA. I didn't focus on construction management at all. I have a construction management degree, and then I went into the MBA program. So I have just a master's of business administration, and I'm going to tell you as to why I did it. Whether somebody's going to want to do this or not, it's totally up to them. But I always wanted to cost is really important to me. Like I want to understand as to why things cost a certain amount at all levels of the scale, right? So in my mind, when I was in college, I'm like, okay, what can do that for me? And I went through all of these, master's degrees and what their descriptions were, and so on and so forth. And then I come up against the MBA program, and I was like, okay, strategic management, strategic accounting, strategic finance, strategic economics, like all of this stuff. And I was like, okay, so we're going to go into a real understanding of a global cost structure, right? As to where things really come from and why do they come to this point. So that's why I coupled my MBA with construction and where I wanted to go in construction, which is today in estimating and understanding cost and understanding as to where things come from. So I think it was a good decision to do this. There's many schools out there that offer concentrations in construction on their MBA programs and so on and so forth, which I don't know those programs, so I can't suggest them, but I think that would be fantastic. Doctorate programs in construction are available as well, and so on and so forth. So it's definitely something down the line.
Good. Really appreciate that feedback, and I hope that'll add a load of value. Last question: are we going to see you popping up in the tennis Masters tournament soon, or have you hung up the racket?
I play as much as I can. Something that I had put in my mind is before my back gives out absolutely and completely, I want to try and play like a Nationals Open tournament in America. There's something that is an indoor tournament in Nashville, Tennessee, or whatnot. It's like a Nationals Open tournament, and I tend to do pretty well in closed spaces because the weather doesn't affect you. The ball flies fairly quickly. I'm 6'6". I can still flick it at 140. So I'm thinking that gives me the best chance of not completely dying by the end of the tournament. So yeah, I'm gonna try. Right. Not masters.
Never say never. Well, listen, Bo, I want to thank you about for this. This has been really helpful, and I know this is going to add some great value to the audience. If there is anybody that's got a follow-up question, where's the best place to get you?
Just give me a LinkedIn. You can most definitely share my profile on your channel and everything, and then you can most definitely just get me through LinkedIn. I think that's the easiest way.
Perfect. There you heard it, folks. In the show notes below, you will see Bo's LinkedIn, or a link to his LinkedIn profile as well. Yep. Bo, you're a legend. Thank you.
You're a legend, man. Thank you so much. This was so much fun. We'll do it again.